We have some breaking news here on ABC News Live. We want to take you straight to Boise, Idaho, where we understand there has been a major development in the case of two suspects that they are looking for. We are told by sources within the department that these suspects have been found. We want to go ahead and listen in.
We're grateful for their help. I want to begin today by announcing that right around 2 p.m. this afternoon, following a lengthy investigation, the two suspects who we have been seeking were located in Twin Falls, in the Twin Falls area. There was a short vehicle pursuit, and both suspects were taken into custody separately. There were no shots fired or extensive use of force in this operation, for which we are thankful. Obviously, that just occurred within less than an hour, and so we do not have a lot of details about the arrest right now, but we do have some more information to share with you, and we will be gathering those details and providing them as soon as we possibly can. And we, once again, want to make known Skylar Meade and Nicholas Umfenauer are in custody. Would like to turn the time now over to Lieutenant Colonel Sheldon Kelly of the Idaho State Police, because this investigation has grown immensely over the last 24 to 36 hours and has involved a number of different entities and crimes across the state of Idaho. And so to speak to some of those and answer questions as well, Lieutenant Colonel Kelly.
Thank you, Chief. Again, my name is Sheldon Kelly. I'm a Lieutenant Colonel with the Idaho State Police. I'm Chief of Operations. First off, I want to thank all the law enforcement agencies across Idaho that have assisted with this. I know it's the Idaho way, but there was an immense collaboration and cooperation all across the state to come to this conclusion. Ever since this incident kicked off, we've had professionals working tirelessly on this issue to get to the point where we are today. Through the course of this investigation, detectives located the Honda Accord that was used in the escape near Leland, Idaho. Additionally, law enforcement we are investigating two homicides at separate locations in Nez Perce and Clearwater counties. These are potentially tied to this incident. Both homicides involve adult males, and detectives are actively investigating. No further information on the homicides is available at this time, and the county coroner will provide identity as well as the official cause of death on those. Like the Chief said at the end of this, if you have some questions, if I can't answer them, I will. It is an ongoing investigation, and to not taint that, we're not going to be able to share everything. And now I'd like to let the Director of Idaho Department of Corrections, Josh Seawald, give an update on his folks.
Thank you, Colonel. My name is Josh Seawald. I'm the Director for the Idaho Department of Correction. First, just nothing but appreciation for the cooperative effort from federal, state, and local law enforcement throughout Idaho and even neighboring states for their cooperation in helping to bring these two suspects to justice. We were able to share the news moments ago with our two staff members who remain in the hospital, and it's safe to say their spirits were lifted. We know, to give you an update on their condition, one of our officers was released from the hospital last evening, while two remain in the hospital. They're stable, improving, and I think with today's news, their spirits are lifted. Just to provide a little bit of context on the other suspect who we believe helped Skylar Meade escape and who actively attacked our staff yesterday morning, Nicholas Umfenauer. We'll be posting a little bit more information about his criminal history and time with us at the Department of Correction to our website, and we'll share that to State Police, BPD as well for them to distribute. But once he was identified as a potential suspect yesterday, our investigators, along with cooperation from other law enforcement partners, began trying to tie him with Skylar Meade. In addition to having both having membership with the Aryan Knights, they also shared some acquaintances, some common acquaintances, both in custody as well as in the community. Lastly, they did have some housing overlap on and off from December 29th, 2020 to when Mr. Umfenauer was released from our custody on January 17th of 2024. That they were both housed at the Idaho Maximum Security Institution, and there was frequent movement in between, but there were times within that time frame where they shared, they were in the same housing unit at our facilities. With that, just again want to express our thanks and appreciation for what was a very tough ordeal for the corrections family, but thanking BPD and their response now over 36 hours ago to the ambush on our staff, but everybody who's offered assistance and put their shoulder into helping bring these two suspects to justice.
Thank you, Director. We can't possibly name everyone who helped with this investigation and the last 36 hours, but of particular note, I would certainly like to thank the FBI for their assistance. They have been involved and were also involved in the pursuit and taking into custody of these gentlemen down in Twin Falls area. We appreciate them and virtually every county sheriff's office between here and northern Idaho and across to eastern Idaho. We thank our partners here in the Treasure Valley for their assistance, particularly Josh Hurwitz, our U.S. attorney, has been involved and helpful, along with the FBI. And the Ada County Prosecutor's Office has certainly been an integral part of this investigation, providing support and all the needs that we have come across over the last 36 hours. So again, I apologize for not being able to thank everyone, but there are a lot of folks who have come together to do some really good work and really important work to take these two gentlemen, and I use that term loosely, into custody before their path of destruction could get any wider. So thank you. We do have time for a couple of questions, but we are limited in what we can release at this point, and we still have a lot of work to do to make sure that we have investigated all of the leads that have come in. We've had hundreds of tips come in from the members of the public, for which we are also grateful and would like to thank those who have taken the time to provide us with information as this case unfolded. A couple of questions for anyone, if you would.
A quick question for the director.
Yes, sir.
You know, I know hindsight is always 20/20, but given what you knew about Meade's history of violence, do you think there was enough security with him when he went to the hospital on Wednesday?
Yeah, I think we're certainly in the process of reviewing our policies and practices, and I think there are two things that have to be evaluated in this particular situation. The first is whether our staff adhered to policies and practices, and I think we feel really comfortable at this point in saying that our policies were followed. Security was actually augmented as a result of Meade's history. So they did, in fact, go above and beyond. The second piece of that, which falls squarely on me, is whether our policies and practices were sufficient enough to put our staff in a position to maintain their safety and security. And so that's the process that's ongoing right now for department leadership as well as prisons leadership to make sure that they're positioned as good as possible. But I can tell you from our initial review of events, facility leadership in authorizing that transport and augmenting resources, as well as the conduct and performance of our staff in the execution of that transport, were wholly in line with our policies and practices.
So there was more protection than was required?
Correct.
Director, one more question for you. Any insight into how someone who's in a maximum security prison in the most restricted part of that prison could have possibly coordinated this kind of escape?
Absolutely, and that's what we've turned our investigative resources towards ferreting out. What we do know, and this is, I think, a challenge that plagues corrections across the country, is contraband cell phones, other third parties, other means of communicating. One of the things we try very hard to interdict are the abilities for people in custody to further their criminal activities on the outside or within our secure institutions. So we know that there are ways that they attempt to thwart our procedures and our safeguards that we have in place, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now, is exactly what we know with near certainty. This was not an accident. This was a planned event, and we're channeling every resource we have into trying to understand exactly how they went about planning it.
Now, was Reed handcuffed when he was exiting the hospital?
Yeah, the information we have is that he was in restraints while he was being escorted out of the hospital. Once events transpired, I'll defer to the people investigating those events, but yeah, he was in restraints.
Is there any details you can share about what happened from the time they left the hospital to when they were arrested? And also, in terms of the homicide, is there any Arayan Knights ties, or how is it possibly linked to them, the two homicides?
There's not a lot that we know. Obviously, our folks are still on the scenes of those homicides. It has not been that long since we found this out, so we're still investigating. In the coming days, we will be able to learn more information about whether those ties exist or what happened. You asked about handcuffs. We did find the shackles at the scene of one of the homicides, so that's one of the ways that we tied them together.
Were they still driving the same vehicle?
We found the vehicle they escaped in up in northern Idaho, and they took another vehicle.
The Gallatin County Sheriff's Office put out a statement saying that they'd seen in Missoula yesterday. Was that an erroneous?
Who put that out?
The Gallatin County Sheriff's Office in Montana.
It's possible, yes.
So it is possible that they might have crossed state lines since the escape?
It is possible.
Okay.
Can you give us more details about how the arrest went down, and more specific about where it happened and kind of how long the chase went on?
It is so recently that I can't give you a lot. I know they were located. They determined that they were found, apparently, and they tried to flee. I don't know how long the pursuit lasted. It was in Twin Falls County, and they were taken into custody without shots.
Were they spotted by a member of the public or a police officer? How were they spotted?
I don't know that information.
Is one of these homicide victims the owner of the car they were driving? Did they carjack someone and kill them?
We weren't there. They did have his car. I don't know. The investigation is so early, we don't know exactly what transpired.
Did it happen to be a Chrysler Pacifica? You know?
I do not know.
Okay. Because that's what he was seeing, they say, in Missoula, so I'm just curious.
And these are the tips that come in that helped us solve this.
Yeah. So I can all piece together.
Which agency took them into custody?
There are numerous agencies involved. To say one, it's unclear. And it is so fresh. We know they're in custody. We don't have all the details of what transpired.
Do you all believe that Umfenauer was in Florida up until Sunday?
I have no idea.
What's the current condition of the two? Are they injured? Are they just in custody?
They are in custody. As far as I know, we've not heard of any injuries sustained during the takedown.
Was there any gunfire exchange?
No, there was not.
Any indication if the two people who were killed had any ties to any gangs?
We're working that out. Don't have any information on that at this time. Obviously, as I said, the investigation is ongoing, and we'll sort that out in the coming days, but it's too soon to speculate on that.
Were one of those homicides in Orofino?
They were both in One, we don't know where it occurred, but they were both located in rural Idaho, so not inside city limits.
Where do you believe they
removed?
Again, I'm not going to get into the details of the homicide. One, I'm not there. Our guys are still on scene doing that job, and so I don't want to get it wrong.
Where do you believe they may have been heading?
To Twin Falls County. I'm not trying to be smart. All we know is that's where they ended up, and that's where we caught them. Again, the investigation's ongoing.
Does it seem though that they wanted to get to these two people that they killed specifically?
The motive and why they did what they did, I don't know.
Whether Umpiner was a member of Aryan Knights?
I believe the director confirmed that, yes. Is that accurate?
Correct.
What role did the FBI play in all of this?
They assisted us.
And also in terms of the Aryan Knights, anything being done in the prison to address that gang, given that, you know...
I will happily turn this over to the director.
Yeah, the Aryan Knights are one of multiple security threat groups that we monitor and try to interrupt their activities. I think that's a daily occurrence within the Department of Correction, is trying to help, trying to mitigate the damage that gangs can do, primarily when that criminal activity can extend beyond our secure perimeters and wind up back out in our communities. But in terms of the actions of Skylar Meade and Nicholas Umfenauer, their gang involvement doesn't necessarily indicate that this was some sort of gang-sanctioned event. In fact, we have. I think that's. I'll leave it at that right now. But independent of their actions, the Department of Corrections and our team of investigators and staff work hard every day to try to disrupt any sort of organized criminal activity that happens within our facilities.
To clarify, where are they being held and what's next for both of the men?
That's probably they were arrested in Twin Falls County, so that they will start their. I'm sure they'll be taken to the Twin Falls County Jail to begin with. From there, as the investigation proceeds and we develop more information, there's a good chance there'll be prosecution in several different locations.
Whose car was the Honda Civic or Honda Accord that you mentioned? Was it Umfenauer's or was it stolen?
It was reported stolen.
And I think we're going to cut it off at that point.
One more last question. How did you come to the conclusion that you associate that two extra homicides with this case?
By information that we developed on the scenes of the homicide, and I can't go much further than that.
And the homicides took place today?
In the last 24 hours. And that's truly all. Thank you, folks.
The last one, bodies were found together? Is that...
No.
No, okay.